From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. It's Halloween, everybody. Today on the pod, we discuss who is the worst human being, the grown man who hides in the bushes and scares little trick-or-treaters, or the homeowner who gives out circus peanuts. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some pod therapy.
I see some weird stuff, man. But among the weirdest stuff is whenever you get individually wrapped, like in little plastic bag stuff, and it's like unnamed, unbranded candy. Mm-hmm. It's like these little jawbreakers and stuff.
Those are still better than circus
peanuts. Nobody actually eats circus peanuts. No. They know that when they make them.
Yeah.
Nobody's eating these.
No.
These are going straight to landfills all over the United States.
Yeah. No, it's still better than the good and plenty.
Are you going to actually trick or treat?
I'm going to be in Reno.
Okay. So no?
Yeah. So no. No,
okay.
No is the correct answer.
Okay.
However, Richard, who sent us the Girl Scout cookies, the Canadian
Richard,
Girl Scout cookies, he sent us an email and said thank you or whatever, nice to meet you or whatever, and he asked if we'd eaten them yet, and I said, well, no, because it's Sober October.
We're being good.
But I said I'm going to be in Reno on November 1st, and you can bet I'm taking a box with me. So November 1st.
That's when you're digging into these bad boys.
At midnight.
As I'm breaking
I'm
my
eating
fast.
a box of cookies.
That's your game plan. Wow. Well, every year we go out with a bunch of neighborhood kids, and we have this little parade of costumes and our neighborhood's nuts, man. They have cool, everybody in the neighborhood goes nuts for it, huge haunted houses, really well developed, stuff that takes all month to prepare. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys actually throw a huge theme. One time it was Star Wars, another time it was Alice in Wonderland, and you get to walk through their house, and they have all these setups, and there's a line in the street. They go really hard on these, so we look forward to it. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
And then toward the end of the night...
What are your kids going as?
My daughter, who is 4, is, and this is for real, so she is in the most excessive, elaborate age that I think she'll ever be. Everything is way over the top, needs glitter, needs the most, loud possible things that she can wear. She's in that age. And so when we asked her what she wants to be for Halloween, she said, I want to be a rainbow unicorn princess fairy. And so we
just like my dad.
Just like my dad. And I was like, well, you can't be what Daddy's going to be. But yes, Rainbow Unicorn Princess Fairy. So we typed that into the Google machine, and we're like, well, maybe we can find pieces of it, and we could put mesh together. No, it's a thing. Instantaneously. That was all.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Amazon and all these guys that make costumes, they know their demo. And it only comes in those, 4-year-old girl sizes, and yep, ready to go. Unicorn, princess, fairy, rainbow, has the whole bit. It's just drenched in glitter and sparkles, and yep, total dress and little fairy wings and the whole business, and comes with a tiara and a unicorn horn and a little wand. So she's set. So
what's the most embarrassing thing you've ever dressed up as?
Me personally?
Yes, as a kid.
As a child?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they were all terrible. My parents didn't help me.
I'll bet mine's worse.
What was yours?
My all-time most embarrassing?
Yeah.
I was a Care Bear.
Oh! Carrie, please send this in. Carrie, please, if you still listen to this show. I know you don't. But God, I wish you did. How old were you? 16, 17?
Yeah, I was probably a junior. No. I think preschool or kindergarten. I think it was before I started first grade.
Wow. That's fantastic. I think I did all the magician, that kind of crap. But then as a kid, my parents never did stuff. Oh, I'll tell you one of the worst ones I ever had. My mom handmade me a Spider-Man, and it was long johns with paint on it. It was terrible. And a ski mask. It was horrible. I don't even think it was red.
That's funny.
It was scarlet, so... People, when you have to explain your costume, it's bad costume.
Yeah.
The other kids are like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Spider-Man. They're like, you definitely look like Serial Killer Man. Yeah. So, yep. So, Care Bear Nick. If I can get a picture of that. My son is going to be Master Chief from Halo. So.
Oh, okay. That'd be cool.
You're familiar with the franchise? Yeah, it's really cool.
I've seen pictures. Yes.
Yeah. It's really cool. It comes with this really cool sword, and he's got his awesome mask, and it's really like a nice costume. So, and then my wife is still fighting with herself about what she's going to be. She's a teacher, so every year she usually does something with all the other teachers. Like they all pick a theme, and like her third grade department last year picked Hocus Pocus, and so they were all like the Sanderson sisters, and like they each had a thing. One year I think it was Target employees, and so they all had like red shirts and khakis.
Funny.
Yeah, it was really good. They had like little name badges and stuff, like "Welcome to Target." So like every year they do something really funny, and this year she's doing special ed, so she doesn't really have a department. So I think she said she's going to be like a deer. So I think she like just ran out of ideas, and she just bought like a head thing. And
my favorite costume I've ever done was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I went as Shaun from Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, you got red on you.
Yeah.
Got
red on you.
That's really good.
I actually had a
wicket bat or whatever?
Yeah.
Cricket bat. Oh.
I had a cricket bat. I had the white shirt, and I sprayed blood all over it. Had the red tie. I even had the name tag.
That's
I
fantastic.
went on Amazon, and I found that name tag.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And like 20% of the people, I think, actually got it and understood
Oh,
from.
well, that shows you who's a quality human being. Yeah,
those
20%.
are the only people I wanted to talk to.
That's right. Only the people that would even get that reference. Well, speaking of great Halloween movies, when our general audience is hearing this, it is Halloween! Happy Halloween, general audience. Of course, Patreons got to hear all this a day early, but who knows? They may have sat on it, and maybe they're not going to listen to it till Halloween. So hopefully all of you are having a safe and fun Halloween, and Halloween's a mixed bag. I think for us as therapists, I think we're the only kind of profession that probably has issues with it. Like, I think that, like, if you're a surgeon or if you're, like, a pediatrician, it is what it is. Like, you notice, maybe people get injured or something or eat bad things. It's not that big of a deal. But I think for us, one of the things you and I have been talking about a lot during this month is just, like, how stigmatizing Halloween is. And, like, it doesn't have to be, but, like, a lot of times movies and popular fiction and everything that goes along with Halloween, they just can't wait to just jump over that guardrail that usually in good taste stops like Hollywood from like, pretending that everybody with mental health issues is dangerous. And that's just when they're allowed to do it. And they can just go as far as they want. And it's always really frustrating.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a Hollywood specific gripe that we have, not necessarily against the entire season of holiday of
nobody else
Halloween.
does it. Like, well, I mean, when you're running around like with kids' outfits and stuff, sometimes you'll see like the guy in a straitjacket go running by, or like, I mean, you'll see that kind of stuff, but like, and it's increasingly rare. But like, I don't know.
It would be funny to have more costumes like that of like mental health issues.
Yeah,
like, I have generalized anxiety disorder.
That's what I'm going as.
I'm going as.
It's just guy in a t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, just a regular guy.
Well, what do you have? Oh, I'm mentally ill. Oh, like crazy. No, I have depression.
Yeah, I just feel uncomfortable in social situations.
Social anxiety. I just have social anxiety. Yeah. That's a great idea. Oh my gosh. Yeah, somehow we need to start that movement where people are just wearing t-shirts.
I'm already doing that just inadvertently. When I go to Halloween parties, I just sit in the corner by myself.
Just hiding anyway. This is really good.
So yeah, we decided we'd put together a few lists of some movies, some of our favorites, and some that we kind of took issue with.
Yeah. So we kind of combed through some, and I thought I would start off with actually one of my favorites, and I think I represent the kids movie demographic in the room. Because I have to watch all the kids. And I generally like them. I don't do scary stuff. Do you like scary movies?
Yes, but I don't know. If I had a choice, I'd pick a action, a drama, or a comedy over a horror movie.
Very low on the
because
bench.
I enjoy them, but they're just so unbelievable and so stupid to me that it's hard for me to get into them.
No, I agree. Like, and that's the thing. It's like they're so frustrating. I mean, obviously there's a trope about how bad they are because people are like, oh, I'm going to go into the, closet, or let's all split up and let's go to different sides. And, there's now like an insurance commercial that makes fun of that where like the Chainsaw Massacre guy's there and all the teenage kids are like, let's go hide in this.
Let's get in the running car.
No,
we can't do that.
We can't do that. Let's go get in this like barn with all like the hanging shivs. So I tend to like kids' versions of Halloween movies. And I'm sure you've seen all the ones that I would probably come up with. But one of my favorites that's actually like, it's a few years old now, but it's like a recurring one. Like every year we have to watch it in October. Have you ever seen it's called Hotel Transylvania?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it.
You never seen it? Oh man, Adam Sandler and his crew are they're it's a cartoon, and Adam Sandler's Dracula, and Kevin is it Kevin James? Yeah, Kevin James is Frankenstein, and Steve Buscemi's the werewolf, and it's really funny. Like Dracula has a hotel, he's overprotective dad, he has like this daughter, and it's just really cute, and like it's all spooky stuff and really fun. And Adam, who's the guy that everybody thinks is Adam Sandler? He's like the younger version of Adam Sandler who's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Adam Sandberg?
That guy, yeah, Andy Samberg. Yeah, he's the like young guy that like falls in love with Dracula's daughter, but he's like a human, so it's this whole like, oh, it'll never work kind of thing. But it's really cute, and like they've made Hotel 2 and Hotel 3, and they're really fun. And so like I know every year I really look forward to seeing that. So that is technically a Halloween movie, and that is probably my favorite right now that I like to watch. But what's your favorite Halloween or scary themed movie?
Oh, I thought we were going like identifying ones that actually had like a mental health theme to it.
Oh, doing our job?
Yeah, but you just totally
I jumped
went
off.
the opposite
I went on
direction
the
with
other
that.
side of
You're
that.
just like, I just like it.
I like cartoons.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
That's one that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think it does a really good job and a really bad job in different aspects.
So Silence of the Lambs is the one with Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, right?
Correct.
And I've never seen it, but it's so
You haven't?
popular. No, but I know that
Oh.
because of its popular fiction that he's like a scientist or something. Isn't he a doctor?
Yeah, he's a psychologist.
Oh, is he?
Psychiatrist. He's a
Oh, wow.
psychiatrist,
Oh.
but he's got
Never seen
antisocial.
Silence of the Lambs?
I have
know, isn't that
never
crazy?
seen Silence of the Lambs. You have?
Of course.
Yeah,
Is this like up there with like the canon of great things that people should
Yeah.
have seen?
Yeah. It's
Huh.
a great movie.
yeah.
Okay.
It's an amazingly good movie.
So he's a bad guy.
Yeah, so he's a God. I wasn't prepared to like
Explain it to an
what
idiot.
The movie is. I just thought we were going to talk about it.
There's somebody out there that hasn't seen
So
it
yeah,
that's
he's
grateful
a
that you have to explain it.
psychiatrist, but he is the stereotypical antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
They actually
Oh.
do a really good job with him in that sense.
Okay.
The other part that they do a terrible job with is the guy that they're trying to help. He's trying to help catch, which is
So he's in custody. Anthony Hopkins is
he's
in
in
custody.
He's working with Jodie Foster's character to catch this other serial killer,
Oh.
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Oh.
And who's portrayed, and they do a terrible job of the LGBTQ community
Okay.
portraying him.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, he's
And see, I have an interesting take on him.
Okay.
Because that
Yeah, I wanna hear
people,
this.
people say that often, that he unfairly portrays the LGBTQ community.
I already know what you're gonna say.
And for the people who believe that, and for the people who think that, I don't have an issue with it. I don't have an issue with that. I simply look at it in a very different way.
Yep.
I don't look at him as a portrayal of the LGBT community at all.
Okay.
Right.
I don't see him as part of that grouping of individuals in any way whatsoever.
Therefore, he can't represent them.
Exactly.
Because it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
may as well have picked a giraffe. Like, it's like, whatever. That's
Right.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
So he's
So
a
he would have
murderer,
been
right?
He would have been a serial
Yes.
killer either way.
He's a serial killer, and there are some things that kind of manifest in him that cause people to group him into the LGBTQ group.
Right.
But
Huh.
I don't see him as a part of that group.
Is this
Right.
the guy that they always make memes about who's like, he puts
It
the
puts the
lotion on his
Yeah.
skin? That's him.
That's him.
Oh, I need to see this movie.
Yes. How have you not seen this movie?
Never seen
You should
it.
really just watch it today.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of parodies of it, and like
Your kids will love it.
Yeah, okay,
They really
okay.
will.
So it's a family romp.
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
really fun. Okay, my
Yeah.
4-year-old
I think
in
it's
her
on
unicorn
I think
princess.
in Blockbuster
stuff.
it's on the shelf right next to Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
There's a
it's
little
part of the season.
There's a little poodle dog in it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, that's really nice. This is the guy that says he ate a
Precious,
man's liver
think.
with some like vino, or
Fava
some-
beans.
yeah, and Chianti or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the
That's
bit.
the movie.
So okay. So the movie does a good job of portraying somebody who has
But yes,
legit
and see,
antisocial
and that was the
personality.
thing that like I read about that too. Is like that was a big gripe.
Okay,
With the LGBT thing,
Okay.
but I agree with Jacob. I don't think that was
that's not his dominant
portrayal.
characteristic.
right.
I really don't think that's a part of him. I think that
No, I think they kind of use that as part of Dr. Lecter's like diagnosis.
Right.
And he kind of played towards that as far as identifying like who this person is, what are the qualities that they have because of, and it was kind of like a forensic thing, like because of how he kills people, this is how he is.
Okay.
And I do understand the people who say that he does
Right.
represent that. I get it.
Right.
I just don't agree with it. That's all.
It's just not the highest quality about the character. So Hannibal Lecter, he's a psychiatrist. He's in custody. Why is he always like...
I love that you're just like, wait, tell me more about this movie.
So, like, he has leather straps on his face, right?
No, that's
always, like,
that's
tied
one
down.
mask.
In
That's
one
the mask
scene.
that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the famous scene where they wheel him out on like
Yeah.
a push cart thing and
Why do they do
hand
that?
cart. Because they're transporting him. Like, that was
Oh.
part of...
Do you know why he's in prison?
Is he a cannibal?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Got it.
He's a murderer and a cannibal.
Oh, see, that's double trouble.
Yeah, and
Can't
so
do that.
he's helping solve this crime, and so in exchange... Well, I don't want to ruin the movie for you. Spoiler,
It's
but...
been 80
Yeah,
years.
so
I
they
haven't
want to...
seen it,
He wants to be transported to, someplace else, a nicer prison, in exchange for helping them solve this murder.
I see. Okay. So you're putting this in the column of a movie that you find it does represent mental health in some ways in a useful
In the Hannibal Lecter way, yeah. I mean, it was like this is kind of the standard that when we're in Psych 101, whenever they talk about antisocial personality disorder, they always point to Hannibal Lecter
because his portrayal was useful.
Yeah.
Which I actually appreciate that they're setting the bar pretty high about antisocial, because I think we live, and you and I have griped about this all the time. There's like the dark triad thing, are you a psychopath? Are you a sociopath? Are you a narcissist? And it's getting thrown around so just flippantly that every mailman is, one of these things. And it's like, no, I like that movie sets the bar a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
no,
everybody on Reddit's like, I dated a psychopath.
I dated a psychopath.
No, you probably did.
No, yeah. How many people did he eat?
You probably did.
So that was the movie that you put in the column of movies that are good.
It was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a good movie.
And
I
review,
don't like it
nuanced.
because of the way they portray mental health. It's kind of like you in Hotel Transylvania. Like I just like it.
It's just a quality movie.
Yeah. Except I'm an adult.
Yeah. Except I picked a movie that adults should like. Okay. So what was the movie that you were upset about?
The bad one.
Yeah.
The really bad one is Identity.
Identity
came out in 2003.
Okay.
John Cusack is in it.
Oh.
Who else is in it? Essentially, it's one of those movies. I don't want to ruin it for anybody.
I've never even heard of it. I don't think
so.
I've
The if you watch the trailer, it's all of these people who get trapped at this motel.
Okay.
During this huge big storm. And so there's all these different characters, and they all have to stay the night at this motel because of the storm, and then people start dying.
Okay.
They start getting murdered.
Oh, okay. So it's like a mystery.
Right. And so they're trying to figure out, well, what do we all have in common? Well, there's got to be some kind of theme. And then they realize, like, oh, my birthday's next week. Oh, my God, mine is too.
Oh,
my
I
God,
remember
so
the
is mine.
commercial for
Right.
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to figure out how are they all connected. And spoiler alert, it's one guy, and these are all of his personalities.
Oh.
So it's one of the multiple personality type deals.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean it's interesting
Cool
as
twist.
a movie.
So why did it annoy you?
Because that's not how it works.
Because that's in no
That's
way,
just
shape,
not-
or form
Yeah.
how identity disorder
Right.
works.
So, I mean, even if it is dissociative identity disorder, there's
not
no
even close.
connection between that and, like, murdering people at a hotel.
No.
And it doesn't really work that way.
Is there any disorder that is portrayed in film more terribly than that?
Then that no, I don't
Than
think so. I think
dissociative
that
identity
has
disorder?
been the theme for probably the majority of movies. Schizophrenia, I think, is the other one.
Yeah.
I'd say between the two of those.
Those are the big two.
And those are probably the biggest, like, misconstrued.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Especially
That, and of course, if you get hit in the head with a frying pan, you get full amnesia.
Yeah. Oh, and amnesia. Yeah, amnesia.
And then the cure is to get hit again.
Yeah.
And somehow you can travel through time.
Yeah. Amnesia is also around there too. Amnesic fuse.
Those are the soap operas, the daytime soap operas.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, amnesia shows up a lot. No, I think you're right. I think dissociative identity disorder, schizophrenia are the two big ones. And I think that schizophrenia often, I think that DID, or what used to be called multi-personality disorder, because I think that allows you to take any character you want and go. I think there was another movie not that long ago. I think it was last year that we were griping about. Split, yeah. Same exact idea.
Yeah.
Except that guy is killing people, and, he's, again, same thing. Was this guy in Identity killing his own personalities?
Yeah,
so it's a victimless crime, Nick.
Yeah, you're right.
Wait. Okay. That's
right?
all right.
All right, so we're just watching some dude flip out in a movie. That's
so.
it. He didn't kill anybody. He's just at a hotel, man.
So the actual movie is just a guy sitting in a room.
Yeah, so
Pretty
if you're
much.
watching the real movie, not through his eyes.
Right.
It's a guy
Just a
sitting
guy
in a room. Smoking a joint.
Yep. Not bothering anybody, just minding his own business.
Okay.
What a perfect portrayal
I'm
of
back-
mental
yeah.
health.
I'm back on board.
You know what? Actually, I'm putting this in the win column. Really good job, John Cusack. Well, mine is more recent. The one that annoys me, and I've been griping about it on not Facebook, but Twitter now for a while. That's Joker. Did either of you guys see Joker?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so I won't spoil anything, but he turns into a homicidal clown. Shit, I gave it away. And he may or may not be responsible for the death of a young boy's parents, and that guy may become something. No, but actually, twist in the movie, he's not like directly responsible for Bruce Wayne's parents being dead. And,
Oh, thank you. No, I don't have to watch it.
yeah. No, that's not even a part of the movie. It's like ancillary, random side bit that just happens. But anyway, the movie does. It's. I kind of feel toward like Silence of the Lambs. Incredible in some aspects, right? Like the depth of acting, Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job. So it's really, really good, and it has a lot to it. The problem is, to me, the character of Joker and the way that Joker's always woven into the latest iteration of whatever they're going to do with Joker, it is the synthesis of mental illness and violence. And it just does such a good job, I think. I think it does more than it wants to be responsible for. Because, we're not talking about one movie, one concept. We're talking about almost 100 years of this concept in popular lore and different kinds of movies. But the concept of Joker being the synthesis of mental illness, unpredictable rage, genius, ability to orchestrate incredibly tenuously connected events like a mastermind, and yet complete chaos, complete anarchy, complete inability to have a plan. And, he was portrayed really well in Dark Knight as well, but this movie kind of takes it to another level where he's the protagonist. So they want you, his name is Arthur in the movie, and they want you to feel for Arthur. And basically they show that he is traumatized. So like he's been hurt a lot in life, and they allude to childhood abuse too. He does have mental illness, so there's some really interesting facets where like he's meeting with a social worker, but that is losing its funding, and so they can't help him anymore. And he was getting medicine through the state, and like they're going to stop doing that. And so and a lot of the movie is really confusing because you don't know whether it's happening in reality or not, because he does hallucinate a lot. But ultimately, the impression you get is that a lot of murder starts to happen, but because he's the protagonist, he's killing people ultimately that you feel bad about because like they were mean to him. And so like it just continues to like reinforce this thread of like people who are mentally ill could kill people, and there's something heroic about that. And it continues to really bother me because it was back when you and I were at Dual Success. I don't know if you remember this, but down the road from our site, there was a pizza place where two officers were murdered point blank by a man and a woman, and the man was dressed as Joker and the woman was dressed as Harley Quinn. And they plotted this out, and it was this whole thing, and they took refuge in the idea, even though they are just murdering bastards who like assassinated police officers for their own stupid concepts of self-pity and anger. They took refuge in this idea, the sexiness of the Joker's madness, that we're crazy, and there's something about that. That's a motif. And like they took that and like owned that. And then they went into a Walmart and committed mass murder. And like, were ultimately hunted down by SWAT, but like they went to the Walmart across the street of that CC's Pizza and killed everybody. And again, is Joker responsible for that? Is this entire fiction responsible for that? No. But it just really amplifies my beef with like taking this character who is clearly mentally ill. It is a huge theme of the movie. It is the dominant theme of the movie. And the other dominant theme is he's a murderer, but that's kind of justified. And so, like, it's just really frustrating to me because it sets the stage for statements like Trump, who come in and say mental illness pulled the trigger. Because when we all think of mass murder, it is not uncommon that humans think of Joker. They think of crazy people, that guy. And they're not appreciating the complexities of, like, no, it could just be, murderous human. Like, you go through the DSM-5 and, like, homicidal ideation is not a typical diagnostic criteria that we're looking for. If it happens, it's something that we need to be scanning for safety reasons, same way we do suicidality. But that's not like a criteria that lands us at schizophrenia. Like, oh, classic sign of schizophrenia is you want to kill people. Or a classic sign of DID, which he also may have, is you want to kill people. Like, that's not common, but people just, because of movies like this, it sanctions it. And I think it just takes in bold ink and tries to create that line between mental illness and violence. Even though in real life, the mentally ill are statistically less likely to commit violence.
They're more likely to be the victim of crime than
way more
perpetrator.
Likely. They're 16 times more likely to be killed by a police officer, even though they're almost just as unlikely to commit violence. They're like 10 times less likely to commit violence than any other typical human who does not share the same illness. So, like, it's just really frustrating because, obviously, it's a huge bang-up hit. This movie's going to probably set the new box office record for an R-rated movie.
It already has.
It already did. Yeah. It's really
worldwide, not U.S.
Worldwide.
Wow.
I mean, it's incredibly...
Passion of the Christ still holds the record for U.S., but it holds...
Hang in there, Jesus.
Joker is still worldwide.
Joker's coming for you.
Joker's coming for you, Jesus. Hang on. We can do this.
Joker is third place domestic.
Wow.
It's still behind Deadpool.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, well done, but frustrating.
This kind of goes back to something I've said before, too, which is that I think the tides will change eventually because Hollywood is all based off of
money.
Well, no, it's if you're creating a scary movie, you have to have a concept that people don't know much about, right? You have to, because if it's something that we all know so much about, then it's not scary anymore.
Yes.
So it has to be something mysterious. How many movies do we have now about Martians coming to the planet to kill us?
Right.
None, because we know there aren't any. There's no life on Mars, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, but back in the day when it was unknown,
Mars was
that
mysterious.
made for a really good topic.
Well, point. Yeah.
It's kind of the same way I think with mental health. When we didn't know much about it, it made it really interesting as a plot.
Good point.
Right? But now we're understanding more about it. And then I think as we become more educated, the general public is going to realize that, oh, yeah, there's actually nothing really that scary about this.
Right.
And then Hollywood will follow suit.
I think you're
follow something else.
I think it's becoming probably, I mean, I would love to know the data if it's becoming less rare or less common that we see this trope, but Halloween, man. Halloween, and you and I were joking about this in the parking lot after the last episode. Halloween is the one time of the calendar, that entire season of October, where it is almost entirely acceptable and sanctioned to stigmatize mental illness. And, like, that's the only time when it's okay to do it, and everybody does it, and it's part of the gimmick. And, like, it's just frustrating, because, like, the rest of the other 11 months of the year, we're all fighting really hard to, like, destigmatize it, and, there's all these wonderful Twitter campaigns and efforts being made, but it's during that 1 month that it's like, oh, yeah, the crazy people are violent, and it's like Joker, and we all just turn a blind eye to that. So this is me kind of ringing a bell and saying, hey, don't forget, that's a lie. That's not true, and Joker is an interesting character for his own reasons. I think it was well acted, but again, the most prominent thing about Joker didn't need to be his mental illness, and that was the artistic choice that they wanted to make with that. It could have been, look at the complex realities of this guy who's been through so much, and he reaches this point where he makes this decision to pursue this, and he finds free. It could have been that, but like they want to run with the mental illness.
So
like,
you would have been fine with going back to the 1989 Batman where he just falls in acid?
Yeah.
Oh, that explains it.
That explains it. Yeah, he falls in acid.
Acid's
Wasn't that
bad.
Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he falls in acid, and now he's the Joker. Yeah.
I think the fact that society created him is a lot more believable now than
yeah, right.
than acid.
Yeah, the acid
who do you think created the acid?
Yeah, that was society.
Society.
Yeah,
that's so meta.
They did. They did a good job in this one too, talking about like society being responsible for him, but they over-featured mental health, which I think they didn't need to do, and I think that until Heath Ledger's character, that was not the thing about Joker that we were always thinking about. It was, people thought of him as criminally insane, whatever that needs to mean, but like Heath Ledger kind of took it to this really cool like edge of like, oh, maybe he's like not completely with us, that kind of thing. But they never tipped the boat on that. It was still, he has this anarchy complex, and like that's what he really wants. But he's otherwise a very intelligent businessman. Like he's well thought out, whereas this guy is not. Like this guy's just ill.
Yeah.
And so it's just a different thing altogether.
So there you go.
There's my soapbox gripe. A little bit more interesting than my Hotel Transylvania thing. So also, as we lead up to Halloween, and as folks are listening to this on Halloween, we have the end of our Sober October. It is officially ring the bell. We did it. We got to the end of this with missteps and bumbles throughout the way, but got through it. So we should probably recap it. What did we learn, and what was the experience like? What was this experience like for you, Nick, to just kind of do the sugar drop for the whole month? I've noticed your energy level seems to have come down quite a bit since you stopped deep throating those bananas.
Yeah, I'm now the Matthew McConaughey of pod therapy. I'm just kind of cool. All right, man. All right. No, I think it was good. I learned some things. I learned a lot more about kind of my weaknesses.
Bullets.
Yeah, some as far as when I crave sugar. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is I've also gone back, as I said before, into the intermittent fasting thing, which I think has a much bigger impact on me than eliminating sugar. I'm not going to completely eliminate sugar again. Like that's not in the plan.
Right.
But I'm definitely, I've cut down quite a bit, and I feel like I can maintain a low level of sugar. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think the biggest benefit over the October just has been intermittent fasting.
Ah, really cool. When you do your intermittent fasting, what's the rules on that? How do you so you don't eat until a certain hour?
Yeah. This morning is a little bit of a exception because I have a coffee. But, otherwise, I usually eat my first meal around like 1:30-ish.
Okay.
And then I'm usually done eating by 7:30.
Oh, wow.
7:30, something like that.
Okay. And then that's it.
That's it.
And then it'll go, that's a lot of hours between, okay, so overnight and then all the way up through the morning and then to the afternoon. Really cool. Huh.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I had some Mick takeaways too. October was a good month.
Did you say Mick takeaways?
I had a few Mick takeaways.
Is that a Freudian slip?
It probably is. I wanted to say big takeaways, but maybe I did say Mick takeaways. I hope the McRib's still out.
You definitely said McTakeaways.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Coming for you, Ronald McDonald. So, no, mine was good. Overall, from when we started this thing, I think I've lost a total of 8 pounds. Which is cool, and we're recording this, with about a week before the end of October. Mm-hmm. So that's been cool. It's neat to kind of watch it kind of go backward and, see them come off the scale, which is really nice. I learned a lot about the way that I associate, indulgent eating with different events, whether that's stress or whether that's boredom, sports especially, and just recreation, and notice, it's fun time, it's time to chow down and eat or whatever. So that's been really huge. I think reframing has been huge for me, not seeing failure as this shameful, oh my God, you're back to square one thing, but more as okay, so that was teachable, and what did we learn, and just continuing on with it. So one of the things I'm really inspired here at the end of October, I think I'm going to try to continue on with this. And, if I'm just chipping away, if I, at the end of November, lose another 4 to 8 pounds, just keep chipping away at it, and it just falls off until you're at kind of, what is a weight that's not exaggerated by indulgence, and so that's kind of what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, and now the next step.
There's another step.
Maybe a little exercise every once in a while.
Yeah. We'll work our way there, baby steps.
Because if you think about it, I mean, you're only chipping away at one half of the equation,
right? Because the other half is build the cardio and the muscle and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, so if you are burning more calories, then, I mean, right now you're just cutting what you consume.
Yes,
but I mean, you can work on the other half, which is that burning more calories. Yeah, getting more active.
My son and I are doing a little bit better with that. We have a game going because we have a stable bike or whatever you call it, stationary bike. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing cardio on that in the mornings. I would do 5 miles or whatever. And we started doing some game because he was like, Dad, can I do chores and make some money? And I don't really have chores for him to do. I don't really care. But I want him to be like really healthy too. Like I don't want him to repeat my past mistakes. He's a healthy little kid. He's not overweight or anything like that. But he's a little guy. When we live in Nevada, it's always too hot to go outside. It's always he's always indoors. So I'm like, I'll tell you what, dude. Like I'll pay you, whatever it is, like a quarter a mile or something like that, if you pedal on this bike. And he was like, well, like, how much can I earn though? Like, what's the upper limit? And I was like, I don't really have an upper limit. And he was like, okay, but like, can I get that in writing? Cause like, I am going to wreck this thing. And he has, like, for the last week, he's just been like, he just sits there reading books while he just pedals.
Wow.
No, it's insane. He's already done more miles than I have. And
awesome.
So, like, and he's got 9-year-old energy,
Sure.
But he also picks, like, higher levels of difficulty. Like, you can set the, like, incline on this bike. And, like, I usually go up to, like, level 5. And he started at 6. And he's just working his way up. Because you get more money if the difficulty's higher. And so I was like, there's, like, a multiplier effect. And so...
It's a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah, he at some point, he's going to be paying our mortgage. So I'm just letting him do his job, so... But yeah, so we're inching our way in that direction, but good feedback. I appreciate it. And thank you for the many lessons this month. I hope that everybody enjoyed it on Patreon. We were very generous sharing that data, some good developed materials and resources. And I hope all of you, will, I realize that some of you guys were trying to stop drinking for the month and you don't identify somebody who had a drinking problem, but you thought, okay, this will just be healthy. Why not? But, for those of you that were using this as sort of a springboard into a more health-conscious kind of general lifestyle, I refer you back to what Scoopeter taught us. When Scoopeter Sending was visiting, teaching yourself that this is just your life now. This is just your job. It's what you do. And I think that makes a huge difference in the way that you approach it. So as we end Sober October, I think I'm going to keep this train ride going and, just try to make that as much of the new normal as I can. We'll see what happens with that. So
awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will discuss making difficult decisions. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's TheraProducer sponsor is Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop. Count Nathan is the title character of Bram Stoker's 1897 Gothic horror novel, Nathan. He is considered to be both the prototypical and the archetypal vampire in subsequent works of fiction. Also depicted in the novel to be the origin of werewolf legends, some aspects of the character are believed to have been inspired by 15th century Wallachian prince Vlad the Impaler, who was also known as Nathan. If you'd like to join Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop and make the show possible, you can go to www.patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
We're back. You're listening to Pod Therapy. Our next
Hannibal
question.
As far as I know.
Nailed it.
I haven't seen it. All right, this
Yes.
This question is decision help. It's from our buddy Richard. Oh,
Yes.
really cool. Richard, who brought us cookies. Hey, Rich. Hello, Nick and Jim. I find myself writing this letter a day before my vacation to Las Vegas to ask for advice about a significant decision I'm having trouble sorting through. 3 weeks ago, my brother asked me if I would like to become his business partner. His current partner is at retirement age, and my brother is looking for a replacement. At the time of our conversation, I told my brother I would like to meet with him after my vacation once I've had a chance to think over his proposal. Not long after our conversation, I started making a list of pros and cons with a goal of determining some questions we could go through in our upcoming meeting. I stopped adding to this list about 4 days after I started, and I haven't contributed to the list since. I have also thought about consulting with friends and other family for advice, but have decided to wait until I met with my brother. Currently, I find myself just thinking about this decision and not turning my thoughts into action towards making a decision. I think the main reason I'm having difficulties is due to recent challenges at my current job. The short version is that over the last 2 years, I've been transitioning into a supervisory role that has led to significant anxiety for me. I am uncertain if there is a resolution within the company, and as a result, I've been thinking about making a career change anyway. As far as I can tell, I am treating the potential of working with my brother as an escape to my current problems rather than the positive career change that I'm looking for. I am well over the midpoint of my working life and feel concerned about making rash decisions. Can you offer advice on how to proceed through the decision? I have not sought out help to this point, but feel this is too important of a decision not to ask. Thanks, guys. Richard Bruins, a.k.a. Thirsty Scoop.
Yeah, great question.
Great question, man.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've had anybody write in about like decision making or how to make good decisions.
Clearly, they listen to Pod Therapy.
Yeah.
These are not the people who are qualifying their decisions, Nick.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different tips that people have. Number one, I think the most common that people hear about is to sleep on it. You know, I think the biggest reason why is because we think with different parts of our brain, right? And then one of the things that's useful is if we want to make decisions from a perspective of calmness,
right,
and where we're not emotional. Because when we're emotional and we're making decisions, we're not making decisions with our thoughtful, cognitive part of the brain. We're making decisions with kind of that animalistic part of the brain.
Yes,
that is basically fear-driven. Kind of the freeze and flight, fight or flight response, that part of the brain.
Yes.
So taking some time, which he did. Sounds like you did a good job with that, Richard. The other thing, too, is that I think is really important is getting away from the decision-making process, taking a break from it, right? And then, honestly, I think he did this worked out perfectly because he had the vacation here, right?
Right.
So that taking that little break and to intentionally not think about it sometimes can be very helpful. So like for me, if I'm trying to make a big decision about like a career move or something like that, I've thought long and hard about it and I'm still not getting any progress. One of the best things for me to do is to do something that takes my mind off of it completely.
Yes.
Like going hiking, getting outside, doing something like that where I can kind of clear my mind and then come back to it again fresh with a new start.
Which is counterintuitive because you'd think you need to stare right at the problem until it, surrenders its answer. But I think you're absolutely right. There's something to be said for withdrawing from conscious thought and letting the subconscious just sort of chew on it beneath the surface while you're clearing your mind. So, Richard, I want to join Nick in just saying, first off, bud, I love how you've started the process, right? Sitting down, making a list of pros and cons, telling yourself that you're going to give yourself time to do this, not rushing, giving that break in between and thinking about how you're going to process it, coming up with good questions, being willing to start asking uncomfortable questions. If you're going into a business relationship with somebody and there's anything you're hesitating to ask them for fear you're going to offend them or bother them or that they might take the offer back, that's already a huge red flag to me because it already shows your dynamic is not sufficient for a business relationship. And this is why I'm usually very hesitant to see families get in business together. I think it's always extremely dangerous. I was thinking about this the other day. I see so many patients who are in some phase of frustration with a business relationship with a family member. And it gives me this taste in my mouth of like, oh, they're all really bad. Obviously, the ones who show up for therapy are not working out, but there might be others that are working. The Johnson & Johnson people seem very happy. And there's a lot of lawyers and sons out there too. But I'm extremely hesitant about it as a general rule. And so when making a decision of this magnitude, I think the two strategies that I usually like to have people do. Strategy one is I want them to sit down and I want them to do like the pros and cons aspect, right? I want them to make a logical list of all the things that they can foresee that are good about this, that are potentially bad about this. And I like two lists, especially if you're choosing between job A and job B. I want a pros and cons list about job A. I want a pros and cons list about launching this business or joining this business, right? And I want you to sit down with that. The second thing that I usually like to have people do as they're doing their strategies, the second strategy rather, is I want them to account for intuition. Now here's what that means. I like people to make a big life decision. And in this, I would add things like, should I marry this person that I'm dating? Or should I move across the country for this opportunity? Should I launch this business? Whatever. Anytime you're facing some huge decision, the second strategy is I want you to account for intuition. And here's what I mean by that. I want you to reach out, and I like the number 10 because I feel like it's a big number. And I think it's a very, full crowd. It gives you a consensus. But I like you to reach out to a group of humans that know you pretty well. Bonus points if they also know your brother. And these could be, newer friends, older friends, family members, people that have been there for your life, girlfriends and boyfriends. I think these are all valuable people. And basically reaching out to them and saying, listen, I'm trying to make a big decision in my life, and I consider you a wise person who has good counsel for me because you know me, and I think you can, like, in a symbolic sort of way, or you can anticipate how I will behave in certain situations. And that isn't a pros and cons list. There's not reasons for that. You can't give me evidence for that. It's just, you know me pretty good, and this is what you think would happen. That's intuition, right? And so what I would do is send those guys a message and say, hey, listen, in a week, I'm going to ask for your opinion on this. I'd just like to chat on the phone with you. I don't want a ton of your time. I'm going to give you the problem ahead of time, let you think about it. And then if you're willing to, I'd love to have a conversation where you just give me your best thought. And so kicking that information to them, here's my situation, here's exactly what my brother's business is, here's a little bit of our relationship, here's what I'm leaving, here's what I'm frustrated with. I'm going to come to you in a week and ask what you think about that. Giving them time to chew on it, and then coming back to them and saying, so, what do you think about this? And I think that's so valuable, Richard, because I think those people can tell you, hey, Rich, I know you're pretty good, bud, and I hope you don't take offense to this, but the type of business model that your brother does, I just don't see you being somebody who's passionate about that long term. I think you're looking at it as an escape or whatever. And it's like, okay, thank you. Like, you're telling me truth, and they're allowed to say whatever they want. You need to make sure that they're not in trouble for this. They're offering you truth, they're doing you a favor. You're not allowed to debate with them and be like, but that's not really who I am. They're just giving you a hot take. But I find that second strategy is just as valuable as sorting out all the blind spots and being evidence-based, because I really think it's valuable to get other humans who have this intuitive architecture of the mind. They kind of just know you pretty good. Even if they don't know your deepest secrets, they generally know your personality and they know how you behave in situations, and letting them give a hot take on, I don't think that's for you. You know what I mean? Like whenever I have young people that ask me what kind of career they should go into, I always ask them, what do your parents think? And they're like, well, what does that matter? It's my life. And I'm like, yeah, but they know you like really good. And even if they're wrong, I'm still really interested in what they naturally think are your skills, where they could imagine you as their child, succeeding. Because they have all these intuitive things about you that they just know, your personality or whatever. And that's still valuable data. So
Right. Well, I think the other thing, too, that might be useful in that is eliminating the bias.
Right.
Right, because when you do a pros and cons list, we automatically have a bias towards something. So sometimes it's very difficult to be objective towards that. So recognizing what bias you already have, I think, is another really good strategy. For myself personally, I always have a bias towards safety.
Right. You'll choose whatever's safe.
Right. I always pick the safest road if at all possible, because that's my biggest concern.
Right.
Is like my biggest concern is always like, well, I don't want to make a decision that's going to make things really bad.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But that doesn't happen. Like I've got no history of doing that.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single decision that I've made.
Well, that time you killed that drifter.
I don't
but
regret
it
that
hasn't
at all.
hasn't come back on
has
you.
Not.
Yeah, they have no clue.
Right.
Nobody ever cared. He had no family, Nick.
And I think just having that bias towards personal safety and understanding that, like, that's the other thing I always have to constantly remind myself of when making a decision is it's going to be okay. Even if I make a decision and it doesn't turn out how I want it to just remind myself, I'll be okay. I'll survive this. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
This isn't that big of a deal, because I have a tendency in my mind to make things bigger than what they really are.
Right.
Like, this decision is going to be, my life is going to be either really amazing
Right.
or I'm going to completely destroy it
Yeah.
based off of this decision. And I have to constantly bring myself back to, no, my life is going to be good either way.
Yeah.
There's going to be
okay.
there's going to be pros and cons either way.
Yeah.
I'm going to be all right.
Yeah, and I come back to something that I stumbled upon during our one of our many very deep dives into book club. And it was The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough. And Mark Manson said, suffering is inevitable. And sometimes we trick ourselves in believing that there's a path in which we suffer and there's a path in which we don't. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot more intellectual freedom whenever you say, no, I will suffer either way.
Right.
And if I join my brother's business, I will suffer. Accept that. Identify what those are. And you may choose that I want to suffer in this new, more novel way, where I might have a little bit more, to gain. than in this other way that I currently suffer at my job. And that's okay for you to reach that conclusion. But, always proceed with caution, bud, especially when we're talking legal, financial things with family members. I'm a big fan of getting everything in writing, agreeing ahead of time that there's going to be somebody who is your middleman between the two of you who helps you discuss things, even if that's a therapist. And just saying, hey, let's go out and pick a therapist. This is going to be our life coach. When the two of us have dispute that we need to resolve, this is a non-legal, non-binding, person in our lives who can talk us through it. And so anything like that I think is a good idea, but always proceed with caution when doing family stuff.
And lastly, I hope it worked out for you, because this email has been sitting in our queue for a while, and I'm sure you've already made the decision. So
he's going to hear us go,
hope
crap!
we did good.
Thanks for the cookies, Rich.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Up there in Canada, eh?
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, how to help my daughter. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's Theraproducer sponsor is Dr. Ben Don. Dr. Don is a character from Mary Shelley's Gothic story, where Victor Frankenstein builds him, the creature in his laboratory, through an ambiguous method consisting of chemistry and alchemy. Dr. Ben Don, Shelley describes the monster, who is Dr. Ben Don, as 8 feet tall and hideously ugly, but sensitive.
All of it is true.
And emotional.
I've known him all my life. It's all true.
Dr. Don attempts to fit into society, but is shunned, which leads him to seek revenge against Frankenstein. Who is the doctor? The doctor's name is Frankenstein. If you'd like to join Dr. Ben Don and make the show possible, you can go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
Hannibal Lecter.
Also, no music.
Final answer.
just hum the Pod Therapy ad music in your heads on that.
You could have not said anything, because I always add it in post anyway.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
When you edit it, you don't, because he already does it for you. All you have to do is just add the pad.
Yeah.
You don't have to add it in post.
No, I know. Oh, never mind.
When I do it, I just let Jacob do all the work.
No, when you do it, you cut the episode short, like right in the middle of the episode.
Oh,
and you don't post
that
the whole
wasn't
thing.
me. Spreaker
What?
did that.
That wasn't
If you look at the cut, it's good. It's a good cut. Spreaker somehow didn't load the rest of the episode, and I had to refix it. It wasn't a bad cut. The editing was correct.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a theory.
I don't want to hear
I have a theory,
goddamn
too.
theories.
All right, we're back. You're listening to Pod Therapy. Our next question is about how to help my daughter.
Good morning, guys. I wrote into the podcast several months ago regarding my daughter, who's 15, her depression, and you guys offered some great insight. So she's been seemingly better, more ups than downs for the most part. She's seeing a therapist at school, not someone who works for the school, but they hired actually a marriage and family therapist. Oh, very cool. My daughter and I are very close. Thursday, she told me she'd been hiding her feelings. She's not doing well and not eating. Yesterday, she was 5150 from school, and she's now in a local mental health facility for youth that is ran by the county. So far, I have very little information, except that the guards don't give great information. It doesn't seem like it's ran very well. Not my biggest concern at the moment. I guess my biggest questions would be, what do I expect when she comes home? Besides the referrals and therapy that is offered to her, how do I support her better? I feel that she does have depression issues. She keeps most of her feelings inside. She's introverted and likes to be alone. I do my best to respect those things. Sometimes I wonder if it's the best thing for her. Am I making her anxiety worse by not making her do more social things? How is she supposed to go into the world and be on her own? Am I hindering or helping? And how do I help and support? Any insight or suggestions would be great. Thanks so much.
Okay, this is good. I guess the first thing I want to address is the transition home.
Yes.
So when she comes home, what should you expect? What kind of role should you have? My best feedback for this situation is to always be involved as much as you can while she's there.
Yes. Don't wait.
Exactly. And be in contact with whoever her therapist is while there.
Yes.
Because they should send her home with an aftercare plan of some kind. And if the parent is involved in that aftercare planning process and is part of it, then that by far is probably the best thing that you can do. One of the biggest things that I always was most frustrated with working with teenagers was the disconnect between the family and treatment.
Yes.
the parents' involvement. I mean, I'm coming at this more from an addictions perspective
Right.
than mental health, but
They just dropped them off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was just kind of a vacation or just kind of respite for the parents, which isn't necessarily bad. Sometimes that's kind of good, but there also needs to be some kind of expectation of, if a parent is willing to talk to the therapist and say, okay, so what do you need me to do? How can I help? Give me some suggestion. The therapist absolutely is going to give you some stuff to work on. And if you're part of the solution, part of the team, that's the best thing that you can possibly do.
Yeah, and Ryder, clearly you're already trying. Clearly you've been involved very much. Getting her involved with that therapist at school is wonderful. And I don't want you to see this as regression. I want you to notice this. Because she was involved with that therapist at school, actions were taken that were ultimately appropriate in getting her into the right level of care for where she's at. So really the therapist did their job, and getting them tied in with that, with your daughter is the right thing to have done. So one of the advantages of being an inpatient is this is often where medicines get an opportunity to sort of be experimented with to see if we can find the right blend before that patient is discharged. And so that's going to be a big part of this too. Oftentimes people don't really discover what medicines might be helpful until they, ultimately either meet with a doctor who's going to do it and the therapist has some competency when it comes to guiding on that, or you end up in a facility. So in this case, one of the advantages is you get to walk out usually having medicine and usually having a referral to a psychiatrist so that you can continue that medicine management program and hopefully include that into the future. So I think be encouraged in that aspect. That's hopefully a very big part of the strategy. Obviously, the other one, and you mentioned it in the letter, is continuing with therapy. The part that I'm hearing you ask about is, how can I as a mom do more? And this is something I think a lot of people struggle with, because there's a careful dance that happens between asking about more and trying to get more involved in the person's life versus not wanting to be intrusive and cause stress for them and sort of like giving them space. What you talked about, like, should I push them to be more social, or is that provoking their anxiety? I'm reluctant to give real detailed advice without having met her. I think that I would defer to the therapist.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I defer to the therapist about that. And, the therapists are pretty good about getting to know the patient, your daughter in this case, and then hopefully every other time or every 3 sessions, hopefully meeting with you as well and giving you that feedback where you can walk in with those questions in hand and they can kind of give you more evidence-based answers that are kind of computed with the person in mind. Now, oftentimes I usually do recommend to a parent that I do want them to experiment with getting the patient out socially. I don't want to see them be reinforced in isolation too much, but I'd also only make that recommendation when I feel safe to do it. There's a time and a place for when I think it's time to push them toward the outdoors and being out with other people, and there's a time and a place when I don't want that right now, because I don't think it's safe. So really, you're going to defer to your professional in your life. I think that's going to be a huge part of who carries the strategy for you.
Yeah, because it's hard to really give feedback on some of this, because I'm hearing, concern about she's depressed, she holds her feelings in, she's introverted.
Right.
I'm concerned about her, how is she going to survive in the real world if this is a pattern?
Right.
And it's hard to give advice not knowing the details about, like, the symptoms she's displaying.
Exactly.
All of that. I mean, if it's just something as far as being introverted, well, introverts have survived in our society for
they'll be okay.
Thousands of years.
Right.
She'll be okay.
But if it's
that's
depression
okay.
with isolation,
exactly,
and we're cutting or we're hurting ourselves, or obviously this person was probably having some kind of suicidal ideation if they're being brought in.
Yeah.
Usually that is a requirement. So the one encouragement.
Well, I guess the thing too though is again I go back to being part of the treatment planning process. So
right.
take the lead from the therapist. If as far as we don't want to push somebody into situations that are uncomfortable.
No.
What we want to do is we want it to be something that they want to work on and us being there for support.
Right.
So, yes, you're going to be going into an uncomfortable situation, but I'm here and here's how I can support you. Or asking them, how can I support you as you work to making these changes? That internal motivation to do something different and to address problems is going to be very important.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the thing I want you to remember, Anonymous, is children are extremely resilient. They bounce back, they grow. I have seen some young people, and Nick has too, that were just in really, really bad situations that looked like they were, going to be very fragile and very endangered. And the case is that as long as you surround them with help, as long as you continue to push for good ideas, show them love, show them affection, be present, these are the things that ultimately get them through. And 15 years old is a long way away from adulthood. I know 25-year-olds that are not, really ready yet to be on their own, and that's okay. And it's okay for your daughter too. And she will find her legs. She will become her own person. She's gonna be okay as long as you keep leaning in with helpers and doing the next right thing. But I want to rob you of that future doubt. You never could believe the changes that can happen in a human being over the course of a day, a week, a month, a year. It's night and day. And so just continue to lean in. Take care of the now. Only focus on the now. Think of safety a month at a time. And if you can keep it that close to the vest, I think you'll find that the rest of it takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for writing in, and keep us posted.
Yeah, keep us posted. Great work with your daughter. Well, my friends, we've come to the end of the show where we want to announce a very special thing. So as you all know, we have our Patreon, patreon.com/therapy. And historically, we have had on our Patreon only 3 levels. We've had THERAPALs, which you can buy into for $1. And we typically describe that as just people who, just want to support the program. They want to support mental health. They're okay with us, Well, I guess I didn't say that, I don't even know that's even a criteria. But what we say on our website is that THERAPALs are the official fan club of Pod Therapy. They make the show possible. They kick us $1. Well, as you know, there's historically been a second level, which is the $5 level, and we've called it THERAPODs. And the history of this, for those of you who found our show after the first, 30 episodes, the history of the THERAPOD level is that our show is incredibly poorly named, or accurately named, what have you, because we're not creative people. And so we called it Pod Therapy because it's a therapist podcast, and that was it. Well, when we first put it out to our listeners, what our fan club might be called or what Patreon levels might exist, people chose the THERAPOD, which is a dinosaur. It's a type of dinosaur. It has 3 toes. And so we fished out a picture of a therapist body with a raptor head, and we've put it up there, and it's always been up there. And the THERAPODs are, shall we say, different, according to our website. They're the sophisticated and dapper 3-toed reptilian members of the fan club, and they kick us in $5, about the cost of a lunch. Well, what's happened over the course of the 2 years of our show now is a bunch of people were at the THERAPOD level, and we have our TheraProducers, which you hear about every week. Those are people that sponsor us at $20 or better. We keep that as a limited seating area, though it used to be, until all of a sudden people just said, to hell with you, I'm giving you $20 whether you like it or not. And so now we just count our TheraProducers pretty much as they come. But yeah, we always had a space between $5 and $20, and a bunch of you just kept jumping into that space. And so we just had people that just kept upping it. They would go to 8, they'd go to 10, they'd go to 15, just because they felt like it. And they were like, whatever, I like mental health, and I'm glad this thing exists, and if this is me making the world a slightly better place, then I'll do it. I don't care. So enough of that had finally happened that Nick and I got together and we said, let's create another Patreon tier to recognize the next level up. So we created the $10 tier, and we went to our Patreon and we asked all the folks that are already giving, what would you want that called? A lot of good ideas. We discussed it in the pre-show on our Patreon only part of the show. And the winner, overwhelmingly, by popular vote of Nick and myself,
right,
was, Nick, you want a drum roll and you can announce it?
Yes. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Genius. And we want to definitely give Jake Schneider, a longtime TheraProducer, and his lovely wife, Judy, credit for the idea. And immediately we even had TheraProducers like Nathan who were like, can I somehow be a pterodactyl instead of a TheraProducer but still give you $20? And so that is how attractive the name is. So Pterodactyl takes our THERAPOD concept of this whole reptile who loves mental health up a notch. And so we now have the the Pterodactyl level. There's a lovely piece of artwork up there of Sauron from Marvel Comics, who is a pterodactyl, and he is in a lovely white lab coat and doing science. And here's what it says: Pterodactyls are the next evolution. They are the high-flying, silent-peeing embodiment of all that is good, who sponsor us at the cost of a lunch date because their love knows no bounds. Pterodactyls are the guardians of all they survey, majestically gliding and screeching like banshees at anything which amuses them. We are currently in discussion about what these individuals will get as far as their rewards, because we definitely want to love on them and tell them how special that they are. But in the meantime, Nick, we actually figured out who our Theradactyls are already.
Well, we have our newest Theradactyl, the one that just joined, Crazy Manana Scoop.
Welcome, Crazy Manana Scoop.
And then we've got Dan Martin.
Dan Martin's technically a Theraproducer.
He is, yeah. He's kind of in that. I've actually got him listed down here twice.
Okay,
so yeah,
he's not a Theradactyl. Dan Martin is still an ex officio Theraproducer.
Okay, fair enough. We'll keep him there. David Pollock.
Yes.
Ice Blue Scoop.
Yes.
And Tom Morrison.
So we currently have 4 Theradactyls.
Yes.
And they didn't even know that they're Theradactyls. But congratulations, guys. Yes. You were so freaking generous that we had to give you a new name.
And in other news, we're going to send out a big thank you to Allie O'Dare, who gave us a quarter that she found on the floor of a truck stop restroom.
Yeah, in Wyoming, I think.
So sticky.
Yeah, but we'll take it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the quarter.
We appreciate it.
All of a sudden, her sponsorship changed.
Did she mail it in?
I'm really thankful to say she did not.
It's a virtual sticky quarter.
Virtual sticky quarter.
That's too bad. That is too bad.
And we want to thank especially our bosses, the Elite Eight, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop. Thanks, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, chairman of the board, Kayla Lansbury, David Data Scoop Violon, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Don, and ex officio board members Ellie O'Dare and Dan Martin.
If you would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited and enjoy our spontaneous projects, go to www.patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Help us reach others by opening this episode's description in your podcast app and copying and pasting the link provided to somebody you know who needs it. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter @PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangent.
I am the modern Prometheus.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Dun dun dun.